It's kind of weird that if you look at it historically, his albums don't do pretty well first off. Because it's just weird, because if you look at a lot of his albums, like initially, people don't like them. Like they're not popular albums. Like people thought they were shit. Of course, there's even a term for this, the Whole Lotta Red treatment. Whereas in Whole Lotta Red was so highly anticipated for so many years that when it really did drop, initially, it was like lukewarm at best. Honestly, if you look at the reactions either from like No Jumper or various podcasts or blogs or even just people online, that day literally was a battle. When he dropped that album, people were fighting in the comments because on one side they enjoyed it, on the other side they hated it, and then there were just moderates in between. Yet here we are a few years later, and this album is considered one of the most pivotal moments in hip-hop history. When you look currently at the state of rap, this album really could be the end of the trap Atlanta sound that we're used to, you know, like the Gucci Manes, the Migos. I'm not saying that those guys or anybody like them fell off, but that typical sound that we got through like 2015 through 2019. This album took these really dark, deep inflections, this geek persona, something that you really kind of got with Young Thug, but this album was like so much more, and it was a pipeline to guys like Yeet and so forth. But even then, the irony is that wasn't even really the first time he did that, because Die Lit was the exact same. I know some of my viewers may be too young, but when Die Lit first came out, people did not like this album. Unlike Whole Lotta Red, where the reviews were mixed, this was like poorly received like across the board. However, like Whole Lotta Red, later on, it starts to continue to grow on people. And I think when it comes to Die Lit and Whole Lotta Red, the two things that connect them the most is a live performance. The reason why Die Lit becomes successful later on is because it's one of the first live albums. A lot of this type of music that he's making around this time is not music that's intended to be listened to by yourself in your headphones. You are quite literally supposed to be in the crowd. And a Whole Lotta Red is the same exact way. People weren't fucking Whole Lotta Red when it first came out, but then he starts performing it at like Lollapalooza and shit like that, and people start loving it. I mean, look at the cover art. He's literally telling us this is what it's supposed to fucking be. And for a lot of fans, this was just a turning point, because this was not the Cash Carti that we knew and grew to love. Whole Lotta Red and VampCarti are essentially the introduction to what we're getting now. I think music, or I Am Music, I don't know what the fuck you want to call it, unlike the previous two albums, I think is initially going to sell pretty well. I mean, it's weird to think that Whole Lotta Red only did 100,000 its first week, even though a lot of people thought it was going to do more. But Carti really is becoming the next version of Kanye, and I'm not saying that as in a public sense, but essentially a musical one. One in which you're always going to get something new, and it doesn't really matter what type of reception you're going to get. Every time they're going to drop a project, you're going to get something new. But I do know for a fact that if this project delivers, it's going to be earth-shattering.